Stand-up comedian Kunal Kamra has argued that the owners of Zomato, Swiggy, Blinkit, Big Basket, Ola, Uber, Rapido and Urban Clap exploit gig workers rather than create jobs. Gig workers, also called delivery partners, work for these app-based companies. Albinder Dhinsa, CEO of Blinkit, tweeted on New Year's Eve at 9:51 p.m. that his platform had 45,000 water bottles, 22,000 Party Smart capsules and 2,000 Enos en route for delivery. While retweeting, Kamra accused Blinkit and similar companies of abusing the unemployed and demanded they release the following data for 2024. Number of delivery agents, hours worked, kilometers traveled, deliveries made, annual pay per rider, accidents, deaths and compensation provided. Kamra used his usual rhetoric labeling these company owners as landless landlords, accusing them of stifling innovation while paying unlivable wages. He claimed they exploit data like oil without paying for the oil fields and predicted that future regulations would humble them. Unfortunately, no company owner offered a strong rebuttal. Worse, Blinkit CEO deleted his tweet. While the world progresses, India lags behind. The average Chinese citizen earns 5 times what an Indian does. Singapore, South Korea and Taiwan have surged ahead while India has remained an economically downtrodden state due to people like Kunal Kamra and his ideological associates. Over the last 78 years, their ideology has kept India backward. This is an effort to explain how the left in India achieved this monumentally tragic feat of keeping 1 billion people in poverty. In this video, I go over 5 key points. 1. Who determines an employee's salary and on what basis? 2. With millions seeking jobs and thousands of entrepreneurs eager to start businesses, why does India still suffer from poverty and unemployment? 3. How did the concept of the delivery partner emerge? 4. How has socialism damaged India? 5. Why will millions lose jobs if we give in to leftists like Kunal Kamra? India has suffered under socialist policies for 78 years. Capitalism is the only way forward for our country. If you would like to organize an in-person discussion on capitalism, please message the number below. Determining salaries isn't rocket science. Think about how you hire a maid or a driver. You will ask those in your social circle to keep an eye out for a driver. One day a person shows up, you offer 20,000 rupees. And the driver asks for 25,000. You learn that the driver has been unemployed for a month, so you refuse to yield and insist on paying 20,000 rupees per month. Driver reluctantly accepts the job. In a couple of months, he finds another job for 22,000 rupees and moves on. You start looking again. However, this time you learnt your lesson. When you find a suitable candidate, you offer the market wage of 22,000 rupees to remain competitive. This principle applies universally from household workers to higher salaried IT professionals. In 2022, India's IT sector had a 23% attrition rate. Almost 1 in 4 employees changed jobs, most of them for better pay. Employee wages are not determined by the generosity of business owners. They are driven by market forces. When employees demand higher wages, businesses increase wages if they want to retain the talent. If that is the case, why doesn't the government simply mandate higher wages? This is where leftists like Kamra commit a blunder. If laws alone could raise wages, every government worldwide would have eliminated poverty by now. Governments don't create high-paying jobs. Profitable businesses do. In any case, why would another company give you a job and pay you more than what you are currently earning? This other company should earn a relatively higher income, expanding its business, and needs to augment its workforce. But it can't find employees for hire. That's when it offers higher wages to attract employees from other companies. So an amendment to the earlier said wage principle. Salaries rise due to workers' wage demands and when companies are profitable and expanding operations. Simply enforcing higher wages without growth results in job losses, not better pay. India, a country of 100 crore people, remains bitterly poor. Millions live hand to mouth as agricultural laborers earn 200 to 600 rupees per day. Meanwhile, vast business opportunities remain untapped. Why? Onerous labor laws, unions, and excessive taxation. If a business grows beyond 100 employees, firing a worker requires government approval. If a factory is running in losses, shutting it down requires government approval. Once unionized, salaries are set via union negotiations and not individual performance. Employers must contribute 12% towards employee provident fund and 3.25% for employee state insurance. To bypass these regulations, businesses hired contractors. Then the government brought the Contract Labor Act, which extended employee benefits to contractors. Violations will result in severe penalties and even jail time. Bribes often become the only workaround. India has 50 central labor laws and 25 to 30 state laws, obstructing growth. Some examples: Factories Act, Shops and Establishment Act, Insurance Act, Maternity Act, Provident Fund Act, Contract Labor Act, Industrial Employment Act. The result? Millions of job seekers remain unemployed while businesses hesitate to expand. Ironically, on one hand, there are crores of people working as day wagers without any protection from these labor laws. They are desperately waiting for a well-paying job. On the other hand, we have a lot of business opportunities. Yet our laws prevent these businesses from grounding. On one end of the spectrum, there are people that are starving. On the other end, we have a system that hunts down those that want to create employment and feed hungry stomachs. To avoid regulatory nightmares, new age internet companies like Uber, Swiggy and Blinkit introduced the delivery partner model. No fixed work hours, no monthly salary, work whenever for however long and get paid per delivery. This model bypasses oppressive labor laws and bureaucratic interference. The result? 1 crore youth joined gig work. Yes, you heard it right, 10 million. But just as these workers began earning a steady income, leftist activists emerged to dismantle the gig economy. Niti Aayog projected that by 2030, gig jobs could employ 2.5 crore people, 25 million. If leftists aren't stopped, they will destroy these livelihoods. Leftists like Kamra have stifled India's progress for 78 years. Now they want to classify gig workers as employees, subjecting them to the same burdensome labor laws that have already crippled traditional businesses. In Hyderabad, the Gig Workers Union in its tweet tagged the Telangana Chief Minister and Chief Secretary. They wrote that these platforms are enjoying no monitoring by state agencies. They exploit poor delivery partners, that these companies literally suck the blood out of the delivery partners. Of course, Kamra retweeted fanning the flames. Journalist Siddharth Roy tweeted about a late-night delivery person getting 27 rupees for the delivery. Kamra predictably retweeted in outrage, but overlooked the important economic problem. Despite the meager 27 rupees pay, why was the worker still delivering? Because it was the best earning option available to him among other bad choices. If he had a better alternative, he would not be delivering that late in the night. Gig workers earn 15 to 20,000 rupees per month, better than unreliable seasonal wages in villages. Unfortunately, despite our best intentions, wages will not go up overnight. Wage increase is a gradual process that happens with a country's economic growth and productivity improvements. Kamra made a documentary titled The Free Market that vilifies gig companies. In the documentary, they accuse companies that employ 1 crore gig workers as exploiters and gig lords. His solution? More taxes, cesses and regulation, even though app-based companies already pay 18% GST on gig worker wages. What happens if we bow to these leftist demands and apply India's restrictive labor laws to gig workers? The cost of employment rises and those costs will be passed on to customers. For example, today, orders over 200 rupees in value are delivered for free. What if companies start charging 50 rupees in delivery charges per order? Customers will immediately cut back on app orders, returning to brick and mortar stores. Lower demand will result in gig job cuts. Millions of gig workers will become unemployed or go back to being an agricultural laborer in the village. If Kunal Kamra and his cohorts have their way, they will successfully restore millions of gig workers to their default state of bitter poverty. For 78 years, leftists have sabotaged India's economy, vilifying entrepreneurs as exploiters. Their ultimate goal, the complete destruction of free enterprise. India can only develop by adopting capitalism, deregulating business, reducing taxes, and liberating job creators from bureaucratic shackles.